So a few months ago, I made multiple videos on every draft class since 2000. I did the best overall player from the draft class, and then I did the biggest bust from every NHL draft class since 2000. And ever since then, I've been getting a lot of requests to do the same, but with goaltenders. So that is exactly what I'm going to do in today's video, talking about the best goalie from every NHL draft since 2000. But before I continue on with the video, if you guys are not already, make sure to subscribe to the channel if you are a fan of the NHL, and turn on notifications so that you never miss a video. Starting the video off with the 2000 NHL draft, and it's a pretty easy pick. It has to be Henrik Lundqvist, a 7th round pick, 205th overall by the New York Rangers. And Henrik Lundqvist, hands down, is one of the best goaltenders of all time. He's currently 6th in all-time wins by a goaltender with 453, one more win, and he ties Curtis Joseph for that number 5 spot. And even though Henrik Lundqvist has never won a Stanley Cup, and most likely won't, he is still a 100% lock for the Hall of Fame when his career comes to an end, and without a doubt one of the best goalies to ever do it. For the 2001 NHL draft, my pick is Craig Anderson, but with an honorable mention to Mike Smith. Craig Anderson has just been a very solid NHL goaltender for his entire career, but his best season came in the 2016-17 year with the Ottawa Senators, where Craig Anderson had a 25-11-4 record with a .926 save percentage and a 2.28 goals against, and was pretty fantastic in the playoffs as well, as Anderson and the Senators fell one game short of the Stanley Cup Finals. And while he isn't a Hall of Famer by any means, he still had a very solid NHL career. Moving on now to the 2002 NHL draft from Toronto, and my pick is Cam Ward, but I will give an honorable mention to Carey. Cam Ward was a first round pick, 25th overall by the Carolina Hurricanes, and would go on to have a very solid NHL career, only making the playoffs twice, but when he got there, he made it count. As a rookie, he won the Stanley Cup with the Hurricanes, winning the Conn Smythe as the playoffs MVP. The 2003 NHL draft produced a lot of good NHL goaltenders, but I think far and away the best has to be Marc-Andre Fleury, who was the first overall selection by the Pittsburgh Penguins, but I do want to give honorable mentions to guys like Corey Crawford, Jimmy Howard, Yaroslav Halak, and also Brian Elliott. Fleury has already had a Hall of Fame worthy career, winning 3 Stanley Cups with the Pittsburgh Penguins, and has 448 career wins, but he's not done yet, as he is still currently one of the best goaltenders in the NHL for a very good Vegas team, and Fleury still very well could get another chance to win a couple more Stanley Cups. For the 2004 NHL draft, my pick easily has to be Pekka Rinne, but shoutouts to Devin Dubnyk and Corey Schneider as well, who also had both pretty solid NHL careers. But out of all those guys, I think the best has to be Pekka Rinne. He has 349 career wins, won the 2017-2018 Vezina Trophy as the league's best goaltender, but the one thing that has kind of evaded Pekka Rinne until this point in time is the same thing that has kind of evaded Henrik Lundqvist, and that is the ultimate prize, the Stanley Cup. And despite playing for a very good Nashville team for the majority of his career, he still has yet to capture it, but he definitely is probably going to get at least a couple more opportunities to do so. Moving on to the 2005 NHL draft, that was a very good class for goaltenders, but the best has to be Carey Price. But I will give honorable mentions to the likes of Tuukka Rask, Jonathan Quick, and also Ben Bishop. Price was drafted in the first round, 5th overall by the Montreal Canadiens, and ever since breaking onto the scene in the 2007-8 season, Carey Price has been one of the best goaltenders in the NHL, and one of few goaltenders in NHL history to actually win the Hart Trophy as league's MVP. That same year, Carey Price would also win the Ted Lindsay as league's MVP voted by the players, the William M. Jennings, and of course the Vezina Trophy. Carey Price has had an amazing career and is still not done yet. The 2006 draft class wasn't the greatest for producing goaltenders, but Semyon Varlamov has definitely had a solid NHL career. The first round pick, 23rd overall by the Washington Capitals, has racked up 218 career wins, his best years coming with the Avs, in which the 2013-14 season he had a ridiculous 41-14-6 record. Varlamov, now a member of the New York Islanders, is having another fantastic season with a 5-2-1 record, a .924 save percentage, and a 2.37 goals against. The 2007 NHL draft, my pick is Scott Darling, because he's actually the only goaltender from that class to play more than 15 NHL games. For the 2008 2008 NHL draft, my pick is Braden Holtby, with some honorable mentions to Jacob Markstrom and another notable in Jake Allen. But amongst those, Braden Holtby has definitely had the best NHL career with 265 wins. He was a winner of the Vezina Trophy in the 2015-16 season, and then the following year, he won the William M. Jennings Award, and then the year after, he capped off all of that by backstopping the Washington Capitals to the Stanley Cup. Braden Holtby has had a fantastic career, and while his future is kind of up in the air as he will be an unrestricted free agent, I'm sure wherever he lands, that team will be happy to have him. Moving on now to the 2009 NHL draft, and my pick is Robin Lehner, who was a second round pick, 46th overall by the Ottawa Senators, and I will also give some honorable mentions to notable goaltenders Darcy Kemper and Mikko Koskinen. Robin Lehner had a little bit of a shaky start to his NHL career because he was kind of a good goaltender stuck on a bad team for the most part in those 3 years that he spent with the Buffalo Sabres, but then he really bounced back and overcame his demons off the ice to make a really inspiring story as he had a fantastic 2018-19 season with the New York Islanders, in which he had a 25-13-5 record, a .930 save percentage, and a 2.13 goals against, earning himself the William M. Jennings Trophy and a Vezina Trophy nomination. Moving on to the 2010 NHL draft, and I gave the nod to Petr Mrazek, but it was a very close call between him and Philip Grubauer, and I wouldn't blame you guys if you think it should be the other way around. Mrazek was a 5th round pick, 141st overall by the Detroit Red Wings, and obviously has really came on and became a good starting goaltender in the NHL since being a member of the Canes. Last season, Mrazek had a record of 23-14-3, a .914 save percentage, and a 2.39 goals against, and also had a great playoff run, being the main goaltender in Carolina's Eastern Conference Finals appearance. Moving on to the 2011 NHL draft, which produced two of the best young goaltenders that we have in the game today, my pick John Gibson, and also an honorable mention to Jordan Binnington. Gibson was a second round pick, 39th overall by the Ducks in 2011, and is now one of the best goaltenders in the NHL, and obviously his record over the past 2 seasons doesn't show how good he is because Anaheim hasn't really been the best team. But if the Ducks can somehow find their way into the playoffs this season, I think John Gibson will be one of the favorites to win the Vezina. Now for the 2012 NHL draft, and this was 100% the most difficult one to choose as it has produced some amazing goaltenders, but in the end, I decided to go with Andrei Vasilevskiy of the Tampa Bay Lightning, but with a ton of honorable mentions to the likes of Matt Murray, Frederik Andersen, and also Connor Hellebuyck, who are all fantastic goalies for their respective teams. And the biggest reason I gave Andrei Vasilevskiy the edge is because he has something that none of those goaltenders have, and that is a Vezina Trophy, as he had an amazing 2018-19 season with a 39-10-4 record. Obviously, him and the Lightning have yet to really do too much damage in the playoffs, but I definitely think that will come as they are still one of the best teams in the NHL, and Vasi is still very young and should only continue to get better. Now, as we get to some of the more recent NHL drafts, it's kind of hard to pick because goaltenders take a lot longer than players do to really come onto the scene and become relevant players in the NHL. But with that being said, my pick for the 2013 draft is Nashville Predators 4th round pick Juuse Saros, with an honorable mention to Tristan Jarry, who looks like maybe one day he could become a pretty solid goaltender. Over the past couple of years, Saros has served as the backup goaltender for Pekka Rinne and has done a pretty solid job and should be a very good replacement when Pekka Rinne is no longer able to play at such a high level. Moving on now to the 2014 NHL draft, and my pick is Thatcher Demko, a 2nd round pick, 36th overall by the Vancouver Canucks. Now, Igor Shesterkin, who looks like a fantastic goaltending prospect, was also selected in this draft, but since he hasn't played in the NHL just yet, and Demko is actually having a good season with the Canucks, I have to give the edge to Demko over Shesterkin. For the 2015 NHL draft, my pick is Mackenzie Blackwood, simply because he's played a lot more NHL games than most other goaltenders drafted in this class. Samuel Montembeault has also had a decent career so far, but I decided to give Blackwood the slight edge, and Ilya Samsonov was also selected, who looks like he may be better than both of these guys, but since he's only played a handful of NHL games, I can't select him over Blackwood just yet. And now, finishing out the video with the 2016 draft, because the draft drafts after this, it's really just too early to tell, but this one is an easy pick. It's gotta be Carter Hart. The 48th overall selection by the Philadelphia Flyers is already their starting goaltender at such a young age. And like I said earlier in the video, goalies usually take a lot longer to develop, but Carter Hart is looking like he could potentially one day be one of the best in the entire league. So that is going to wrap up today's video. I really hope you guys did enjoy. Make sure to go down to the comment section and let me know what your picks would be if you disagree with any of mine. And with all that being said, thank you guys so much for watching today's video. If you did enjoy, please make sure to drop a like on it and subscribe to the channel for daily NHL content, and I will see you guys all in the next video.